Hi, welcome to the channel. I wanted to make this video on emergency funds because emergency funds are really the key to weathering a rough financial patch. So I don't think you can say too much about emergency funds, even though there are a million videos on them. In this video, I am going to share my strategy with you going into 2022 for optimizing my emergency fund. But first, a little bit about me.
Hi, welcome to my channel. Here's a little bit about me. My household consists of myself, my husband, and my toddler. My mom also lives with us, but her finances are not included in ours. We live in a high cost of living area in the Northeast. Both my husband and I went to graduate school, but fortunately, we no longer carry student loan debt. I work in banking and he works in aviation. I take care of all of the family's finances, and I love my role as the self-appointed CFO. I enjoy talking about all things money, and I look forward to sharing a wealth building journey with you. I hope you enjoy this video.
I am sure you have heard the word inflation everywhere, whether it is on the radio, on the television, you've seen it on social media. Everybody's talking about inflation over the past 12 to 18 months. What's inflation? So inflation is defined as a general increase in prices which results in a decrease in your purchasing power. Essentially, it's what your grandmother was talking about when she said a dollar just is not what it used to be. Inflation has always been a fact of the economy and a fact of life. The reason why everybody's talking about it these days is because it is the highest that it has been in decades. As a result, a lot of people have taken the position that cash is trash. That's because inflation is eroding the value of your money when you have it sitting in a bank, because banks are not paying what they used to. I remember when I first graduated college, I had saved up $1,000 and I put it in a certificate of deposit that was paying me about 5%. I mean, good luck. I don't know where you're going to get 5% these days anywhere, even if somebody is saying a high yield savings account. I mean, their definition of high yield is really laughable. What are you supposed to do when you are not getting a lot of return on your money and inflation is beating it down? You're supposed to have an emergency fund, but you can't put it all in stocks because stocks are too risky. Stocks do beat inflation. Events that typically correlate with a market crash often lead to some of your worst financial emergencies that you're going to have in your life, which very commonly is your job loss. If you put your emergency fund, or at least all of it, in the market, you put yourself in a position where you are potentially selling low or selling at a lower price than what you purchased for it. So to deal with that, I have decided to employ a strategy in the last couple of months, and I'm going to take that into 2022 with me, and I wanted to share that with you. So that strategy is iBonds. So what are iBonds? iBonds are government bonds that are inflation protected. It has an interest rate that is calculated in two parts. The first part is a fixed rate that is fixed for the life of the bond for 30 years. And then the second part is an inflation adjusted rate that resets twice a year. They announce it in March and October, and it goes into effect in May and in November. You're thinking, what is so special about this? Well, the inflation adjusted part is the part that is special. That's where your returns come in. All iBonds purchased between November 2021 and April of 2022 has a rate of 7.12%, and it's guaranteed for 6 months. On top of that rate, beating out anything that you're going to get at a bank, you are also getting a more favorable tax treatment. If you are in a state that has a state income tax, you don't get taxed on your interest for iBonds. Even though you get taxed at the federal level, if you use your iBonds for educational purposes, for example, you use it to pay for your kids' college, you don't get taxed at the federal level either. Well, the catch is that the first year that you put it in, you are locked in for that first year. That is something that might be hard for somebody to swallow, but I am going to talk about that more in a little bit. The other catch is That one is not as bad of a catch, but if you cash it in before 5 years, you forfeit the last 3 months of interest. If you cash it in after 12 months, you're only going to get interest for 9 months. Or if you cash it in after 15 months, you're only going to get interest for 1 year, which is 12 months. As you would expect with anything that is a really good deal, you can't get too much of it. It is capped at $10,000 a year per taxpayer. They do make a provision where you can buy an extra $5,000 with your tax return. If you file your taxes, you can put all of your tax refund, if you get a tax refund, up to a maximum of $5,000 to buy some additional iBonds. So really the number is $15,000 if you can buy cash plus get a tax refund. The good thing about that is it is a calendar year, not a rolling year. If you buy right now, before the year is over, you have the option of buying again in January. One other catch that you do have, you have to open an account at Treasury Direct. You don't have an option of buying it on your Vanguard account or your Fidelity account or your Schwab account. You have to have a Treasury Direct account. My plan is to ladder. I'm going to use a laddering strategy. So what a laddering strategy is when you buy on different days to spread out the purchase, and what that does is it spreads out your maturity. It staggers your maturity. That means that my money is not tied up all at once, since what I am going to use to buy this is my emergency fund. So if I'm going to be using iBonds as an emergency fund strategy, I don't want to put all of my money in it at once. The next time that I have to buy the next round, all my money isn't gone for a whole year. The other strategy that I'm employing, again, that is in the spirit of maintaining my liquidity, I try and buy in the last week of the month, because you get credit for the entire month even if your purchase doesn't go through until the very last day. It looks at the month that it was issued and not at the date that it was issued. When I purchased the iBonds, I purchased them in October. I did it the last week of October, but it has given me an October issue date. As soon as October 1st rolls around, even though I didn't buy it until like the 25th or the 26th, it's considered being a year old and my money is now freed up. So essentially I buy myself 3 weeks out of it. It says one $10,000 purchase per taxpayer. I buy $10,000 under my social security number and I buy $10,000 under his social security number that we can now buy for $20,000. We also have a child. If we wanted to, we could have bought an additional $10,000 under my son's social security number, but I opted not to do that because once you purchase for a minor, that becomes their money and I don't want to put my emergency fund under his name, because if I'm in a situation where I change my mind, I am not going to be allowed to do that. And since that is something that you can cash out in $25 increments up to the full amount, I am comfortable putting the money in there because it's just a matter of cashing out the portion that you want and having it be transferred in your account. It really isn't going to take more than 3 days to hit your bank account. And I can't imagine being in a situation where I need that much money that I can't cash flow either out of my paycheck or out of the small cushion that I have in my account, and I need it so quickly that I can't wait 1, 2, 3 business days for it. I am going to put in all of my emergency fund with the exception of a small buffer of maybe a half a month's worth of bills. And if inflation maintains this pace and they keep that really high interest rate, I might even consider putting money for medium-term sinking funds like the purchase of a vehicle into iBonds. Overall, bonds are not really part of my retirement long-term strategy. This is more, again, of an inflation hedge to protect my emergency fund. These are really the only bonds that are in my account. I don't have bonds in my brokerage. I don't have it in my IRA, and I don't have it in my 401k. It doesn't mean that I'll never have bonds, but my risk tolerance is relatively high given the different sources of income that we have. I'm comfortable with not having bonds in my account for long-term purposes at this time, being in my 30s. For an inflation hedge, an emergency fund, I think it is a great great strategy for me and my family, and I would like to hear from you and hear what you think. Have you heard of iBonds? Are you open to doing something similar? What do you think of my strategy? Is that something you're considering? Would you be willing to take this approach for your emergency fund or any other part of your overall portfolio? Is the fact that you have to open a different account a deal breaker from you? Let me know what you think in the comment section, and I look forward to hearing from you.
I would like to continue sharing my thoughts on all things money with you. So I would appreciate it if you could help out the channel by liking this video and sharing it with anyone you think might benefit from it. If you want to see more content, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can know when new videos come out. I'll see you in the next one.